Hello everyone, welcome to the stream. Let me just update the thumbnail for the stream. Forgot to do that. Just give me one sec. Alright, there you go. So I hope you guys are doing good. I've been actually struggling today. I had a lot of work to do and I didn't sleep yesterday that much. I slept only 4 hours. But I still want to talk about verses. Because the last chapter was insane. Aiden16, hi, welcome to the stream. So yeah, hope you guys are doing good. Couple of things I want to talk about when it comes to the power scaling of verses, right? Inverse power scaling. Yesterday when I was reading the stream, when I finished, I had to go because I had a lot of things to do after. And I wanted today to just dissect everything that happened in this chapter. Kind of like go too deep on what everything signifies for the story and for the narrative and for the power scaling. So yeah, chapter 36, an amazing chapter, 10 out of 10, top 3 for me. I don't want to fall into the trap of recency bias because for now it's actually top 1 for me. This chapter is just from start to finish packed a lot of action, packed a lot of amazing I wouldn't say scenes, but you know, amazing interactions, abilities. We got to understand how each character thinks. It was just like an overall packed chapter. Has everything, literally. But anyways, the topic of this video, right, it's obviously, you know, discussing chapter 36, but I think the main event of, surprisingly by the way, the main event of chapter 36 is Nyagoro is what's most important about this chapter. I've already read this chapter and I have mixed feelings. You'll understand why at the end. No, this is not me reading the chapter, by the way. I reacted to it the last time, yesterday. This is just discussing the chapter. I've already read it. Mixed feelings, I'm guessing because Ginbak got injured because of Nyagoro, and that's why I'm saying Nyagoro is the main focus. I would say like main focus, but like the most important thing about this chapter is Nyagoro. Anthony Ram, hey, hello, welcome to the stream. Good to see you. But anyways, you think that Ginbak going drumming mode would be the highlight of the chapter, right? But no, obviously he takes care of 5 demon lords, he kills them. Others need to run away, which is still very impressive. It's insane, right? Like obviously he's a top tier character, regardless of what happened after. However, a character like Nyagoro has surprised the fandom. Alright? It goes without saying that everybody now should be on like the wagon of thinking that Nyagoro is a top tier character. Not a top tier character, a top tier demon lord. Right? In terms of feats, and feats only, right? Just feats. Nyagoro is literally the strongest demon lord. Even stronger than Jachi. Narratively speaking, it's still, I'd lean towards Jachi to be stronger than all of these demon lords, right? He has the narrative on his side, right? He's still confident he can take on Ginbak. What else too? What's the other thing too? It's just like the story is focusing way too much on him, and even after Nyagoro successfully dealt damage. People don't want to call scratches damage, but it is, you know, he's damaged. It's minor damages, you know, it's just, you know, just a tiny scratch. But Nyagoro was still able to penetrate Ginbak's skin. So I'd say that's damage, right? But despite that, he still calls Nyagoro Makimon. Nyagoro and Makimon, if I remember correctly. Hold on. Who died in the battlefield? Yeah, so just Nyagoro and Makimon. This is Balkaku, right? he still calls them boring. Whereas with Jachi, he respects his strength. He always says, "Yo, like the other guy was not like when he was fighting against the Ganazal, he was like, let's go back to the chapter to get exactly what he said. I think it's chapter 20. Nyagoro top two demon king. You mean demon lord? I think Nyagoro for now, if we talk about feats, she's number one. Clearly. Alright, let's go to this chapter. I don't think this is the chapter. This one. So when Ginbak is fighting against the Ganazan, right? He says that she's boring, implying that Jachi was interesting to him. Like he's interested to fight Jachi more than whatever tricks the Ganazal is trying to do. He just calls her boring. Even though she successfully was able to do a lot of things, right? Inflict maggots on him, being able to clash with him at first, but he still calls her boring. Where's the statement I'm looking for? This one. The last guy was a lot better. I don't know how strong Burst Jachi will be, but until then, Nyagoro does have the absolute best feat of scratching Ginbak. Nudo called him one of the best offensive magic users. Exactly. In terms of narrative, as I said, narratively speaking, Jachi will be stronger than Nyagoro. I don't think there's going to be a dispute about that. I don't think people really believe that, you know, when we reach to the point where we understand how strong Jachi is, they'll still have Nyagoro above Jachi. It's not going to happen, okay? For now, Nyagoro is above Jachi for sure. However, in the future, you know, Jachi is way too important for the plot to just be weaker than a character who got, you know, killed off screen. You got what I mean? It just doesn't make any sense. But if I am, if I want to make a ranking video, let's say ranking demon lords from weakest to strongest, which is something that I actually want to do, I will not have Jachi above Nyagoro, because even though, as I said, the narrative, he's got the narrative on his side, Nyagoro has the better feat. He needs to do something that is better than that. He needs to do something that is better than scratching Ginbak. I don't know, maybe if he fights him again, he inflicts damage on Ginbak, or maybe not even fighting Ginbak. Imagine Jachi uses his burst, or there's this statement that says when Jachi uses his burst, he can even match the Demon King, and then we get to understand that the Demon King is massively stronger than Ginbak, you know, so you know, put 2 and 2 together and there you go. Jachi is, you know, stronger than Nyagoro. But for now, as I said, I cannot understand the people who are saying, yo, Nyagoro is number 2. She's not number 2, she's number 1. But until then, Nyagoro does have the absolute best feat of scratching Nude. Okay, how did he manage to injure Ginbak? This is just a guess, right? If we go here, it looks like, I don't know, maybe I'm reaching, but this whole ability kind of looks like, I think it's inspired from Sukuna's domain expansion, right? Because it's literally like a dome. It's putting a veil, and then it's about slashes. Maybe I'm reaching, as I'm saying, but like, you know, the closest comparison is that this looks like it's Malevolent Shrine from Jujutsu Kaisen. And I'm guessing this ability, Nyagoro here just unleashes continuous unstoppable slashes. So maybe 1 or 2 concentrated slashes were able to actually damage Ginbak. It's an insane feat, by the way, because this is not just Ginbak in his base, this is Ginbak in his drumming mode, which makes it even more impressive, right? Remember that when Jachi used his released form, he was about to attack base Ginbak, and base Ginbak was confident he can tank it or withstand that kind of attack, right? Before Nudo teleported him. And then we've got a Nudo statement in chapter, I think 31. Hold on, let's go and bring it here. Nudo says perhaps even you would have been killed instantly if that connected. So Nudo kind of like Nudo thinks that if he didn't teleport Ginbak away, even released Jachi would have been killed instantly by base Ginbak. Obviously, Nudo doesn't have the full facts. He doesn't know how strong he is. That's why he was experimenting on him in the battlefield. So maybe it's not the case. But for now, it's looking like Nyagoro did a crazy impressive feat of damaging drumming mode Ginbak, who Jachi couldn't even hurt or do a single thing to when he was in base. Alright, let me read the chats. The Demon King is definitely sauce. I mean, he sends the rest of the Demon Lords, but with the exception of Jachi. Plus, they seem related in some way. Jachi has 3 eyes, and so does the Demon King. We've talked about this multiple times. I think a lot of people theorize that the Demon King and Jachi, they're related. Maybe they're brothers. Maybe they're father and son. You can never know. But the Demon King, based on this one single statement, right here. Hold on. Where is it? We also question the great Demon King just the same. Because of this statement, the Demon King is now sauce to me. And the one who's saying this is Hitodinam. Hitodinam is called the Convincing, right? So, maybe Hitodinam is like a character that is smart, right? Being the only character that knows that Nudo is the one who killed Jakuja, and she's the only one that's kind of like I wouldn't say suspicious, but careful about Nudo. So her saying this is setting up that the Demon King is highly suspicious. Maybe he did this just to test how strong Ginbak is. Just send them to their demise. Alright, let's continue with the chat. Jachi does have the meme of, number 11 Saitama real life prefecture. I don't know if it's written like that, but I think that at least there has to be one last impressive demon lord. For sure, yeah, for sure. As I said, I think the whole thing with the prefecture, I don't know if I'm saying it right, number 11 signifies Saitama. I think that's irrelevant when we talk about the inverse narrative, right? It's just us speculating based on outside things that doesn't happen in the story. However, as I said, the narrative does support that, Jachi will be one of the strongest, if not the strongest demon lord. And we will, maybe like 10 chapters from now, we will say he's definitely stronger than these bums, right? However, for now, Nyagoro is above him. Just tuned in my opinion, is released Jachi is weaker than burst Nyagoro, who's weaker than burst Jachi. That's a healthy interpretation, for sure, yeah. I can see it going that way. I can even see release Jachi being stronger than burst Nyagoro. I can see that. There's nothing that contradicts that or proves that. However, all I'm saying is, for now, Nyagoro has the better feat. The best feat, in fact, when it comes to Demon Lords. Maybe it will turn out that release Jachi is stronger than all of these guys. And maybe if released Jachi was not if Ginbak was not teleported away when Jachi wanted to attack him, maybe Jachi would have actually dealt real damage. Because Nudo seems to think, in chapter 31, if we go, he seems to think that Jachi would have been killed instantly if he didn't save him, right? But at the same breath, Jachi still believes, he can defeat Ginbak. So maybe Nudo doesn't have the full facts, okay? Maybe he doesn't know how strong Jachi is. Maybe he thinks he's like as strong as the other demon lords, and he thinks, he knows that the other demon lords are not that crazy to the point of being able to fight against somebody like Ginbak. However, maybe it will turn out that Jachi in the future will surprise even the demon lords. how strong he is. I don't know. Like this is just us speculating and assuming things out of nowhere. Obviously, not nothing is concrete. But for now, Nyagoro above Jachi for sure. Even if the cuts are very shallow, like paper cuts, it's still very impressive. You gotta account for Ginbak being in his drumming mode. This is not bass mode. This is drumming mode, and she was still able to slightly hurt him. I would say slightly hurt him from now on. I wouldn't say damage him. I go back to yeah. This is the chapter, I guess. So there you go. Here, Nudo tells Joshi, that Ginbak has easily defeated the Ganazal. It was one-sided from start to finish. And he said, if I hadn't used teleportation magic, perhaps you would have been the one to meet your end, Joshi, right? And Joshi, after that, he says, tell me where Ginbak is now. I'll end him myself. So we don't know if this is just him talking shit. It could be just, Demon Lords, they always win because after that, Jachi, I think in this chapter or the chapter after, he says, that's what we do, Demon Lords, we win. And even in the new chapter, I don't know who said it, but somebody said something similar. A Demon Lord said, oh, all we do is win. There you go. Demon Lords win, that's what we do. So maybe it's an ego thing. He's not really thinking clearly. He thinks he can always win. So yeah. Let's continue with the chat. By the way, Shankstan, welcome to the stream. Good to see you, bro. The Tangola, you too. Welcome to the stream. I think we all know Burst Jachi is going to be the strongest Demon Lord. I'm still not confident enough to say he will be the strongest Demon Lord, but at least top 3 strongest Demon Lord. If he's the strongest, I love it. If him and another Demon Lord are competitive, I still love it. Even if he's top 3, I'll still like it. I don't want him to be mid-tier because it just wouldn't make any sense. Why would you focus way too much on this character if he's just gonna be a mid-tier Demon Lord? Okay, I don't think it will happen, but some people think the scratches are gonna be toned down on the volume, like the robot walking on a burning forest, which a lot thought was Daikoku-zan's back. This is a possibility too. It happens a lot in a lot of manga. In One Punch Man, for example, the acid affecting the hands of Darkshine were toned down in the volume version. However, I think the scratches were left there for a reason, or were added for a reason for you to understand 2 things. One, Nyagoro is a really strong Demon Lord, which was substantiated by Nudo, who's the most credible character so far right now. He said she like as expected from one of the strongest of magic offense users, something like that, right? Completely butchered it. So that's one. That's what the cut signified. Number 2, I feel like this is kind of telling us that okay, if a Demon Lord is doing this, and all of these Demon Lords are sweating from the idea that, okay, if I go back and, go back to the Demon King without defeating Ginbak, he'll kill. Like, they're actually afraid of reporting to the Demon King that they didn't defeat Ginbak, much more than defeating Ginbak, if you know what I mean. Much more than facing Ginbak. So I feel like this is kind of telling us indirectly or setting up the idea that the Demon King is stronger than Ginbak. Also, there's this one statement from Hitodinam, I think. Is it? No. Nyagoro, right? Nyagoro does say here that Ginbak is similar in terms of building resistances and adapting to magic and whatnot. He's similar to other Demon Kings. I feel like this is kind of like this is obviously assumption, right? Imagine the demon, in order to become a Demon King, you need to defeat him. Kind of like in the Monster Association where Girogiru told the monsters, if you don't want to follow Orochi, you can just defeat him and become the leader, right? So imagine that's the system for the Demon Kings, because they value power and strength. That means that each demon king is stronger than the previous because they had to defeat them. And so if Ginbak is like the previous demon kings, um, Byakuo is definitely going to be stronger. Okay, and you gotta remember that Nyudo did state, I think in chapter three, is it three, four, five, somewhere along these chapters, he did say that the demon king is an extraordinary, exceptional demon. Okay, he's not supposed to be like any other demons. Maybe even much better than the previous demon kings. If that's the case, then it's not looking good for Ginbak because I feel like it's going to the chances of Ginbak versus Byakuo happening. I feel like it's more than 80% because Ginbak does want that smoke. He's saying, okay, let's just go and fight him. I think this is setting up for the fight. Strongest of Titans versus strongest of demons, kind of like Sukuna versus Gojo thing. And it's not gonna look good. I don't think Ginbak obviously it's not gonna be a low diff or even a mid diff. I'll even go ahead and say it's gonna be a high diff. But Byakuo for me is just going to win in the future. All right, let's read some comments. I don't think it'll be changed. They probably made it like that on purpose. The volume will likely clear up the Penguin Demon Lord's rank, though he shouldn't be 22nd. Exactly, him and Monkey have the same ranking, which is weird. I went to double check on the rolls and thought maybe it's like a translating error, but it's not. Maybe there's something to it. You can never know. Maybe there's, maybe it's a thing where like, but that wouldn't make any sense. I was gonna say maybe the fight we've seen from Ginbak against all the demon lords happened kind of like what's happening with Penguin is not happening at the same time with Ginbak. Maybe Ginbak already defeated everyone, not everyone, the 5 demon lords, and the fight concluded, and then they reported back to the king, and somebody else took the number 22 spot, and he got captured by the medallion. I don't think that's the case, but you can never know. That this is one we're talking about. You can never really predict anything. Narratively, Ginbak is about to be one shot by Demon King. Hold on, let me check if. Okay, I was just gonna check if the stream is still going well. Narratively, Ginbak is about to be one shot by the Demon King. No, there's no way. I don't think any strongest of a natural enemy has the ability to one-shot another strongest of a natural enemy. Even Yaotsu, which I feel like this is a hot take. People think that Yaotsu can just look at somebody like Ginbak and he just poof, just disappears. I don't think it's, I don't think it's this way. I feel like people are overestimating, and I know I'm drifting from the comments, but I think people are overestimating how strong Yaotsu is. Yes, Yaotsu is quote-unquote God, right? A divine being, an insane character that has insane hacks, right? But the world he dominates has characters that are not combatants. They don't have mana. They're just like weaklings, right? So we need to see an interaction of him against somebody else. Not even a strongest of a natural enemy. Needs to be somebody like maybe a demon lord. Let's see how he fights. Because till now, we didn't see him scrap hands, like we didn't see him kind of like fight. Maybe his hacks doesn't work on other people. The point is, I don't think anybody is one-shotting anybody when it comes to the absolute strongest of their word. Maybe scratch that. Maybe Daikoku. If anybody can one-shot anyone, I'd see Daikoku-san one-shotting. Maybe Ginbak. Even though I don't want it to be the case, I want it to be a fight, but I can see that happening. All right, let's continue. Why not? The 22nd was already named before. Yes, Makimon, the one who died with Nyagoro, was the 22nd Demon Lord. I can't remember if you thought Varnigams died or not, but I never lost faith in my girl. I wanted her to die, to be honest, and I did think she died, and I concluded that she actually died from that impact. It's fine. Like I wanted him to I wanted to just for that hit, not him making contact, just throwing another demon lord at her is enough to kill her. But I guess this, didn't happen. I wonder what the boost is for burst slash release form if Jachi thinks he can't do anything to Ginbak after his first attack did nothing. Exactly. Yeah. Look, the multipliers for now are still ambiguous. To be honest, I used to think that, for example, the gap between a drumming mode and a bass titan is just too large. But now I feel like it's not the case, because even though he went drumming mode, he was still scratched by mere demon lord, which is something I never predicted. I don't know with the demons if the gap is that big between the person. Maybe with Jachi it is, because with Jachi, just him being suppressed, just him like wearing the cape and not wearing the cape, the gap is insane. Okay, it's just he, I don't know how do you say exhaled. He exhaled it without mana, and he overpowered the black hole's pushing and pulling strength. That's insane. That's actually crazy, bro. So maybe with Jachi, the gap is too big. I think it's going to be the case with, like, whereas with not every demon lord, like the multiplier would not be the same for every demon lord when they go burst. I think it's some it wouldn't really matter that much. It's like powered up a little, and others would power up significantly. Okay, let's continue. We might get Daikokuzan versus Superworm Parasites that took over the Verdant Forest, since the Verdant Forest is near the Spiral Mountain. What's a parasite gonna do to Daikokuzan? I don't think it's gonna be like an interesting plot. However, I can see Daikokuzan fighting against another son of Ginbak, because if you guys remember the how do you call it, the commercial thing they dropped on YouTube a year ago, it kind of like spoiled a lot of matchups. It shows Daikokuzan versus the Titans, so seeing another son of Ginbak would be pretty good. And as I said before, seeing the Titans being handled by something that is bigger than them and taller than them, they would start feeling, not in a sense where like they would understand the humans and like, I'm just saying like they would start understanding a little how the humans see them, the humans they conquer see them, because Daikokuzan is going to be a Titan to them. So maybe that's what's gonna happen. That said, Jachi is chasing Xavier, right? I'm not sure if he's after the teleport spell or Hallow Sword, so he can clash with many things depending on who he's after. It would be pretty cool if the moment we switch back to Yaozu is about to do something crazy, and then Jachi comes and we see Jachi versus Yaozu. That's the dream. Too good to be true, but we can only hope. This is, as I said, one is crazy when it comes to these unpredictable events. Okay, so he can either find Daikokuzan or Yaozu if he's late. Though personally, I think they're gonna sacrifice the Spiral Mountain and fire a Super Mac at Daikokuzan. I think Boss is gonna do something with, that's not a soul container they have there, but something that is related to the curses. I feel like he's gonna do something to buy them time, not necessarily to fight Daikokuzan, because I think that's an overkill situation. That's they have absolutely nothing to do against a juggernaut like Daikokuzan. However, I feel like Boss is gonna do something significant for them to survive. The cliffhanger for the previous chapter, I think it kind of like highlights how desperate the humans of Versus are. Not desperate. What's the word? What's the opposite of hope? What is it? Like the whole word of Versus falls under despair, because they just, no matter how good of a place they just have to go to kind of like have a minimum peace, there's never going to be peace in that world. Like the humans have it rough. That's basically what I'm trying to say. Sometimes, English is not really my native language. It's not even the second language we use in my country. So sometimes uh, I find it hard to convey what I'm trying to say. So excuse me for that, guys. Um, Shangsten, Joshi honestly may have gotten bored and is still going on his very long walk at this point, since he didn't mention the humans when he left to my memory. The thing I remember is that he's searching for Hallow and he's interested in Hallow. I don't remember anything about him searching for Zabi. If you guys remember where that happened, please remind me which chapter it is. If Ginbak deliberately enters drumming mode in the chapters to come and start fighting seriously, I think the entire power scaling conversation changes. It does not matter. Look, here's the thing. When it comes to holding back, right? You can hold back your speed, you can hold back your power, you can hold back the usage of your abilities, your combat ability. How can I say it? In Japanese, they call it Sintoryuku, which is the ability to fight proficiently. You can hold back all of these things, except durability, bro. Durability is something in most cases, right? Sometimes a character can flex. Sometimes a character can like brace for it. I do understand like there's a difference between just being caught off guard and bracing for an attack, obviously. However, the difference is not that large. Durability is not something in most cases that you can hold back. All right. So whether he was fighting seriously or not, he was still scratched by Nyagoro. It does not matter if he was not fighting. I don't think he was fighting seriously in the first place, to be honest, because he said they're boring. Okay, so a boring opponent is somebody you cannot really fight against seriously. But, he was slightly harmed. Daikokuzan versus Jachi. Daikokuzan clears for sure. Like, I don't see Jachi winning. Like, we love Jachi, we glaze him, but not against Daikokuzan, I'm sorry. Because, look, maybe Burst Joshi is gonna be like a top tier character. Okay, we can never know. But you gotta remember that somebody like Uki, I think it was Power, right? Just from colliding to Daikokuzan, it's not like Daikokuzan moved or did anything. Power was knocked down. Okay, and suppressed Joshi when he was fighting against Uki, there was at least a clash. Granted, that suppressed Joshi, but I don't feel like Jachi going from suppressed to burst, the multiplier in between these two forms is going to be significant enough to overpower somebody that can, like, without doing a single thing, stop a medallion. Like, nothing. It's just walking. And you gotta remember Kiva's statement of saying maybe even the ship has the potential to fight against the Demon King, which I feel like is not credible, obviously. Like, it's just, this is Kiva. He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. But, it's something that we need to have in consideration. The ship to Kiva is something that may fight against the Demon King, and Daikokuzan just walked through it. I don't believe the ship can fight Byakuo. I'm just, for the sake of the argument. I'm somebody who likes to, talk about different angles to have the clear interpretation. Or the clearest? Is that a word? The clearest? Alright, let's continue with the chat. Byakuo being stronger than Ginbak shouldn't be taken for granted. We have more information about Ginbak's physical capabilities than we do about Byakuo's actual combat ceiling. Which kind of, I wouldn't say impolite, but alludes to maybe, like, what I'm trying to say is, when a character is not shown too much in a manga, right? Just hyping him up, like other characters hyping him up. And we know he's a top tier character before doing anything, before seeing anything, before hearing anything. He is a top tier character. He's the strongest of a natural enemy. When you see another strongest of a natural enemy, we see his feats, we see him getting hurt, we saw multiple fights of his. Stories that move that way kind of implies that the character who is not shown that much is stronger than the character who's always being shown. Obviously, there are exceptions, but for this is how it's looking like it's gonna happen. I think. Hold on. I think it could be also the case that the Demon King, it's something that it's inherited in a demon family, that it's the strongest. It could be, yes, it could. But look, this is something you need to understand. We're not talking about real life kingdoms, right? Where like a child can be a king if the king dies, right? Nobody would attest to it, otherwise it would be chaos. We're talking about fictional characters. When it comes to characters that can fly, can destroy large areas, they can shoot blasts, they can teleport, I feel like the criteria to rule them is strength. Okay, there's no such thing as inheriting or whatever. Like, I don't think that like the next demon king after Byaku is gonna be his son, even though his son is weaker than Boxer. You get what I mean? Like it needs to be strength. You need to have that demon king need to have the ability, the strength to win against most of his other, most if not all his subjects. Game World will be the strongest calamity in the final boss. I can see that happening, sure. Game World might be a different dimension with other laws of physics. Would be insane with that supposed prom video about Yaotsu's versus Game World. I didn't look for it, so I don't know if that match will happen. This is my theory. I don't know if you've been here from the start, from where we started, doing versus content. This is my theory. I feel like Yaotsu, in the midst of trying to do something to Zabi's party, the game world would appear out of nowhere. I think there's no area of the game world because it's something that spawns out of nowhere. Okay. The reason I think this is because the humans of the game world, or what's the universe's name? Extermia, right? Extermia's humans, they look like they're deprived of sleep, right? They do not have the ability to sleep comfortably because imagine you're just sleeping, boom, you're inside the game. That's why they're always watching their backs. That's my theory, but if I'm confident that it's going to be something similar. It's like out of nowhere, boom, you're inside a game and you have to compete in it or against it. Ginbak will just be a pawn to demonstrate the great demon king power. I can see that happening for sure. Now, if they do fight, it will be a high difficulty fight regardless of who wins. For sure, yeah. I don't see it to be an extreme difficulty fight, by the way. I don't see it like Naval Robot versus Kiva in Chapter 2, right? Where it looked like it's an extreme difficulty fight. Kiva barely was able to walk and regenerate. So it took a lot from him to defeat that one Naval Robot. I don't see that happening with the Demon King and Ginbak, but at least a high difficulty fight. But I would be surprised if it's a mid difficulty fight. I can see it being like a Sukuna versus Goju thing, where like Goju loses, but it's not an extreme difficulty fight, it's a high difficulty fight. That's controversial in itself, but you got what I mean. Jachi trying to defeat Great Demon King is dream inside of a dream. You would need a miracle. You can never know. I don't think it's. You can call it a dream, but like I don't think you can say you need a miracle, because think about it this way: if Jachi turns out to be the strongest demon lord, it means he's the closest to the strength of the Demon King, and in a new world that has new possibilities, new ways to become stronger, like the word essence, for example, right? You can never know. Maybe Jachi will be able to defeat the Demon King. It's a far-fetched idea, but something to have in mind. I don't know why people are underestimating Ginbak. The fight with the Demon King will be high difficulty on either end and can definitely damage Daikokuzan and the World Tree. And how he is being described, he has a chance to be resistant to Yaotu's powers. Yeah, as I was always saying, the strongest versus the strongest is always going to be a fight. However, you gotta have in mind that a single natural enemy, like a character that is the natural enemy of a world, on paper has better chances, right? Yaotsu and Daikokuzan. There's no faction, there's no subjects, it's just them being the natural enemies. So I wouldn't be surprised, as I said, if Yaotsu or Daikokuzan end up defeating somebody like Ginbak at like mid like even low difficulty fights. Um, but I don't think it's going to be the case. I think all of them are just gonna have high difficulty fights in order to defeat each other. There's always exceptions, obviously. Exceptions to rules happens. Maybe there's just one character which is likely Yaotsu that can actually defeat all of these guys easily. Maybe. I don't think it's the case, but maybe. It's the case of we need to see more. Because the reason we're saying Yaotsu is the strongest is because he's a god. God. If it's not God, it's just like a character with crazy hacks, we would not be saying he's the strongest. There's also another possibility, by the way, now that I'm almost finishing with the chat. I don't know if you guys remember, but like if you go to which chapter? Chapter 4 or 5. Hold on. This is highly relevant when it comes to Yaotsu, right? There is a possibility that Yaotsu is not the only god Indignia's word have, because the human from Indignia's word did say or did allude to the fact that like they prayed for something else, not Yaotsu, for the merge to happen. So maybe there's an entity that actually counters Yaotsu. Kind of like a One Punch Man thing with Saitama and God, right? Dark King 2001 Hopeless. I don't know what you mean by that. Ginbak is my favorite character, but they are setting him up to lose exactly. He's my favorite character too, by the way. Maybe when the Demon King appears, we see how he is. Because my thing is, my favorite character is built on not the premise. Like, for me to say a favorite character is a favorite character, I need to like his character, not that like he doesn't need to be the strongest or strong or whatever, right? So it depends on the Great Demon King. If the Great Demon King has this personality, like the Boris's personality, Ginbak might be number 2. But for now, Ginbak is number 1. I don't want him to lose, but I would not be surprised, nor that I would be disappointed if he does. Because, versus is an unpredictable word with so many characters and nobody is safe. Even Ginbak. If Daikokuzan, what does ATK mean? At the Spiral Mountain, Hollow is using Demon Flute to... Bro, that would be insane. I actually forgot about the Demon Flute. So yeah, because, the story is always about, okay, let's paint another natural enemy against, or let's paint the natural enemies against each other's, right? So maybe that's something that Halo is going to think about on the spot when they cannot escape Daikokuzan. And if Jachi appears and fights Daikokuzan, he would be on a generational run, right? If he's a UFC fighter, for example, and you go check his record, he would be the GOAT, the greatest of all time, right? It's no John Jones. If you guys follow MMA, Jachi would have fought a lot of characters that actually matters. Fought a medallion, fought a demon lord, not a demon lord, the chief of all titans, fought the robots, and then fights Daikokuzan. That would be insane. Okay, let's continue. You can't hold back your durability. I wish more authors knew this. Yeah, sorry for just give me guys 1 second. You can't hold back your durability. I wish more authors knew this. Why? What's the problem with that? Ginbak disappointed me. I feel like a lot of people actually were disappointed with Ginbak this chapter, but like it is what it is. It happens in a lot of fiction. By the way, retcon things happens in the future of stories, right? Maybe this is not going to be that relevant to the narrative and or to the plot or to the future matchups. We're just looking way too much into it, because I'm a firm believer that sometimes there are things in fictional stories that are not meant to be scaled. Feats are not meant to always be scaled, if you get what I mean, right? So maybe this is not like showing Ginbak being harmed is not for the purpose for us to say, oh no, he's gonna get clapped by the Demon King. Maybe it's just something that the author said, okay, let me just have him actually being hurt by Nyagoro because I like cats. You can never know. There's also the possibility of uh, like in fiction, by the way, somebody who has a short or a sharp attack, right, is always better at damaging characters than somebody who just uses his fists or like normal kind of attacks, not sharp attacks. For example, Flashy Flash can tank the Godslayer fist from Garu, which is an insanely strong attack, but gets cut by a wire from Demon, Gale, Wind, and Hellfire Flame. Right? So maybe this is cope, but fictional stories do have these errors from time to time. Not sure if this was mentioned, but after reading the chapter again, Ginbak went in drumming mode accidentally. That bullet activated it. He sort of says it. Yes, we do know about that. It was mentioned, literally. I think Nudo was the one who talked about it. He said we wanted to weaken him, we actually made him stronger. Maybe Byakuo is in some war council. The humans were trash for him, yet still waged war against them. So he doesn't seem to be excessively arrogant against threats. Look, I think it's an over exaggeration to say the Demon King waged war on humans. Maybe war on humans existed from the beginning. Like, maybe humans and demons were like oil and water from the beginning of existence. It's just that demons became much more stronger. So it's not really the Demon King who did it. It's like, it's like an always occurring conflict. Or that what's going to be likely the case is that this is not war. This is just the demons squashing ants. Okay, it's like I don't know. Maybe you purchased a new house and then you found out that this house has a lot of cockroaches. You're trying to like, yeah, you're trying to get rid of them. You're not necessarily waging war on cockroaches, if you know what I mean. Okay, let's continue. Yeah, if he was called the Mad Spirit or the Mad Bean, we might have a different impression of him. New chapter was amazing for sure. Hey Jets team then. Welcome to the stream, by the way. It's nice seeing you too. I wonder about the timeline. I'm guessing when we get back to Yaotsu, little time, if not none, will have passed. That's something that maybe the things, as I said, maybe the things that are happening right now, we're watching, like the thing with Ginbak fighting against the Demon Lords happened back, like in the past, not like in the far past, but like not at the same time where Daikokuzan is going to the Spiral Mountain. But yeah, we need a timeline. It would be funny if we cut back to them living in the city he built, worshipping him, and trying to plan on a way to leave. That would be pretty funny and would be very interesting. I would want a full arc, a mini arc, right? Something like, I don't know, 7 to 8 chapters, just focusing on Yaotsu's, like how Yaotsu is. Yaotsu like being a god. Similar to how Hallow could slash Jachi even though he couldn't do anything to him in the fight with punches most. Exactly, that's actually a very good point. That's a very good point. I actually mentioned this in my video, but I completely forgot about it. The video I'm talking about is Jashi's Way Stronger Than You Think, the one that I have on my channel. But I completely forgot about it. And now that you mention it, this is, maybe this is telling us that you can hold back your durability in this verse. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with my internet today. It's kind of like it's very slow. Yeah, but the point is, Jachi was actually hurt by the first attack from Hallow. So, maybe, Ginbak being slashed by Nyagoro is not gonna matter that much. It upscales Nyagoro for sure, right? But it doesn't downscale Ginbak. Yeah, I don't know. Also, by the way, on paper, if you think about it, right? Ginbak is a bad matchup to Byakuo because of his ability to resist magic. And Byakuo is, obviously he could be a brawler just like what's his name? Jachi. But they heavily rely on mana and magic. So maybe you never know. Maybe it's a matchup thing where Ginbak is able to defeat Byakuo. I'm coping, but you can never know. Okay, let's continue with the chat. One other thing before we continue with the chat, one other thing we didn't talk about this stream, and I feel like we need to talk about it way too. This need to have more attention than this one. I'm talking about this one, the Penguin Demon Lord. Obviously, he's not 22nd. If he is 22nd, he's the replacement of Makimon, and this is happening in the future, right? He dealt major damage to the ship, as we can see. I actually didn't notice I've noticed that the Madara people are damaged for sure, but I didn't notice that the ship is actually, like, he left a hole in the ship, kinda, right? I feel like this is insane. Not, to the point, like, not insane just like Nyagoro slashing Ginbak, but being able to give this many medallions trouble, right? To the point of, oh, they're calling Galoa, yo, Galoa, come back, come here to help us. It means that this demon lord is decently strong, right? At least above suppressed Jachi, or like his level. Because suppressed Jachi, with one punch, he was able to crack Oki's body, paws. And this guy was able to do the same thing, but with multiple medallions. And, obviously fighting multiple opponents is much harder than just focusing on one. So, for now, this character can be base Jachi level. One other thing we don't know about this character is, did he do this with his base form? Or are we already seeing his burst form? Is this his burst form? Maybe his burst is just an ability rather than a transformation like the other demons. But the point is, this character is not a joke. Being able to do this to 4 medallions is pretty decent. However, none of them transform to Space Plate Oki. Kind of, feel like this kind of diminishes his power level, because none of them kind of like thought, okay, we require a Space Plate to defeat him. Okay, let's continue with the chat. Judging by only feats, Nyagoro is probably the strongest demon lord, at least in AP, although Jachi is still definitely the top demon lord. Narratively speaking, Jachi looks like he's going to be the strongest, or one of the strongest, as I said. For now, Nyagoro is the strongest based on feats. If we strictly talk about feats, disregard the narrative, Nyagoro is better. Much better. Because there are times where feats trump narrative implications, okay? No matter what you imply about Jachi, there's no clear statement saying this is the strongest demon lord, right? Because there's no statement like this, no matter how much you glaze him story-wise, this feat is too big, that Nyagoro's feat is too big to just say, nah, maybe Jachi is stronger. You got what I mean? Based on narrative. It's like an insanely impressive feat that you cannot argue narrative for Jachi. That's what I'm saying. Being able to harm a drumming mode, okay? Not a base mode. If it was base mode Ginbak, we can say, maybe we can say, maybe this is the case, maybe that's the case. We can, cope about it. But this is drumming mode Ginbak. This is possibly the strongest Ginbak would ever be. And Nyagoro is able to do something to him. So I don't care about narrative with Jachi right now. For now, that feat is too big. That for me, Nyagoro is the strongest demon lord. Unless we get a clear statement like, okay, what's his name? Jachi is top three when it comes to demon lords. He's the strongest. He's the closest to being on the level of the Demon King, something like that. Unless we have a feat that is as crazy as Nyagoro's, or a statement that is as crazy as the ones I mentioned, Nyagoro is the strongest. The new compressed form of Medallion is attacking Joshi. I also think they're going to run an experiment on the Demon Lord Penguin. The same they got is strong. The same they got is strong, since it could damage the aliens just like Joshi did. I think Galua will get a power up, and then they'll show us their fight and the difference they managed to achieve. I don't know. Obviously they'll study Penguin, but like get a major power up. I'm not sure about that. But with their very advanced technology, nothing is impossible. Do you think the Demon King has had a fights off screen because the alien said he's stronger than their research initially thought? Wait, and did they say that? But the leader of this demon species, the Demon King? Yeah, look, here's the thing. I'm not sure if they're talking about the Byakuo, or they're talking about Uki. Uki, what the fuck am I saying? Joshi. Because Uki, when it clashed with Joshi, it concluded this is the Demon King. So maybe because, Joshi, because the only character that was able to destroy the space plate's Shinra state is Joshi. So it's safe to say, okay, this guy is much stronger than the others, especially this one, because they didn't require a space plate against him. So maybe they're saying, okay, Joshi is stronger than, stronger than these guys, that we conclude he is actually the Demon King. So maybe they're talking about Joshi right here. That's what I thought about when I first read it. I just never said it, because I thought that's the common belief. But if they're talking about Byakuo, then yes, it would allude to the fact that maybe Byakuo fought off screen and we still didn't see it. But I don't think it's the case. I'm leaning more towards the fact that they're talking about the fact, the idea, the possibility that they're talking about Joshi much more than, them talking about Byakuo. Alright, let's continue. I think the medallions might be out of the story for a while, gathering their weapons to launch a full-on assault. I don't think so. I think maybe 2 or 3 chapters from now we're gonna see the medallions. Maybe trying to get their revenge on Daikoku-san, who's going to the Spiral Mountain. And I don't think Daikoku-san is going to reach the Spiral Mountain the next chapter. I think the next chapter is just going to be humans that lives in that place, kind of like, what's the word? Panicking, right? Panicking and trying to advise an idea, not an idea, a plan, to survive that. Joshi can maintain his durability because it probably works different than Ginbak, since demons have mana. Yeah, but like nothing confirms so far that they're using, this is our interpretation. Nothing's in story is telling us that they're using their mana to guard against things like it's like a nin or a cursed energy, right? It's just we are thinking that way. For example, Black Clover, no spoilers. Black Clover, they use mana and stuff, but there's nothing in story to show that like. I never mind, scratch that. There is actually. So what I'm saying is it's not confirmed in story. W Penguin Samurai, let's go. Alright man, I gotta go and work on my video for the chapter, hopefully having it out tomorrow. I'll watch the video of the stream later. Thank you for being here and good luck for the video. If you need anything, you can reach me in my Discord server if you want any help. Crack Yuki's body. Alright bro, like I said pause, okay? I said probably used bursts. Probably, yeah, if you're talking about the penguin. The demon said that Ginbak adapts to attacks, and if he is attacked with the same attack 2 times, it's not going to be effective. Does this mean that Ginbak is now immune to slashes? I don't think he's going to be immune to every kind of slash. Just, just Nyagoro slashes. Most of a demon upscale than medallion downscale. More of a demon upscale than a medallion downscale. Exactly, yeah. Many unnamed demon lords might die, and we won't know who did it because it's Bozerg's team who did it to hype them up more and all that. We need to see more of these guys because having the strongest of each world is a very fascinating idea. We won't know until much later. Exactly. So the protagonist was just unlucky because he got one of the strongest demon lords. Exactly. I feel like, for example, if Halo went to fight against somebody like Boxer, I don't think Halo is gonna defeat Boxer. Halo or any hero, maybe excluding just Bozerg. I don't think any hero can defeat a demon lord. Okay. However, with some demon lords, it's gonna be somehow of a fight against uh against Jachi. Jachi was just like, if Jachi is the strongest demon lord, Halo was lucky and unlucky at the same time. Lucky because Jachi is too strong that like he searches for a fight. He was just toying with him and he actually left him. He didn't like kill him or try to confirm that he killed him. Um, Whereas with other demon lords, they experiment on heroes, they butcher them, they torture them. It's just it's just like for a lot of heroes, it was so bad to them. And Halo was unlucky because he fought maybe the strongest demon lord. If he fought somebody like Boxer, for example, I can still see him like maybe do a thing or two, maybe like be able to match him in speed somehow. Still don't think he can defeat him. Still don't think he can force him to use his burst, because I don't think Halo is as strong as the strongest of a Gaia's Wrath Forest. I don't think that's the case. I don't even think that Halo is as strong as the Tyrant's Bear, and the Tyrant's Bear isn't even the strongest of a forest. But it would be at least not that one-sided, in my opinion. Nyagoro's strongest because he is cunning, wise, and open-minded. Also, he got cursed weapon and info gathered. Nyagoro? You're talking about New though, I guess, not Nyagoro. Strongest because he is cunning, wise, and open-minded. Also, he got cursed weapon and info gathered. I think you're talking about New though. New though is possibly one of the strongest too. I wouldn't call this luck much more than the rest. Much worse than the rest. As far as we know, only Bozark won. Yeah. And Bozark's win is probably not a straightforward one. There's something shady going on with Bozark. I feel like Bozark just... I think they defeated that Demon Lord after the merge happened. And after he gathered his new companions, right? I think they devised a plan to assassinate demon lords based on the multiple different new things from other worlds that demon lords are not aware of. Because think about it this way: demon lords are cocky, right? They always think they're the strongest. Sometimes they don't even try. They're not the type of characters to just blitz and one shot their opponents from the start. They're always too confident. Look at Royal Roach. Look at Diganazal. All of them, they're not trying as much as they can from the get go, right? So maybe there's an instance where there's a demon lord, or like most of demon lords, they're just gonna allow the first hit to connect, just to inflict despair on the heroes. Except this time, they wouldn't know what's hit them or what's going to hit them, because they're not gonna sense it. It's not mana, it's not magic. It's just something entirely else from a different plane of existence. A curse, a parasite, maybe I don't know, something from Celestia. Maybe that guy has like a laser that can bypass durability. So this is something that the heroes can exploit against like could have exploited against the demon lords before, but now I think each faction, even the demons, are starting to adapt, are starting to understand, okay, we need much more than just strength. We need to strategize, we need to think about or like plan before doing anything. And the proof is Ginbak. I think he told Inam was the one who said it. She said, okay, it was stupid for us to just go directly to fight against somebody like this. We should have devised a plan. The point is, if Berserk is able to defeat 2, 3, 4, 5 demon lords, the demon lords are gonna understand. Okay, we need to not give these guys chances. All right, let's continue. Is Ginbak immune to the parasite? He's immune to the maggots, and it's kind of like a similar concept. It's like poison, right? But he needs to be inflicted first in order to be immune to it. I feel like something like a parasite is not gonna work on somebody like Ginbak. You can never know, because the parasites for now we're all underestimating them, especially me, to be honest. I don't see the fuss about parasites. Okay, the parasites are dangerous to the humans of that world because they're humans. Somebody like a hero who has fast reactions, extreme durability, and whatever, I feel like they can protect against it very well. Not saying, a parasite is going to inflict a hero and the hero is just magically going to stop it. It's not going to work on a hero. Obviously it will, but they have the reaction and the AP to like counter it pretty fast. However, as I said, we shouldn't underestimate any natural enemy. There's going to be more to the parasites than just, like a normal poison. Okay, let me continue. The Tangola, I think people are kind of overrating this demon lord. Aliens are not trying to kill him, and from what we have seen, the aliens are base because they don't want to damage their ship. It does not matter. As I said, we go back to the point of durability, okay? This demon lord has the attack potency to inflict major damage on their body, okay? And whether they want to kill him or not, this type of attack potency is very impressive. That's what I'm trying to say. We've seen Jachi with a strong uppercut, by the way. It was a strong uppercut. It was not like, let me just, try a little punch. It was a strong uppercut, and he was able to hurt Uki. And it was not, some of the damage Jachi has inflicted on Uki is not as major as these. Like, look at this guy. Like, his whole, like, his ass is literally destroyed. Okay, so and one would think, this is an assumption, obviously it's not confirmed, one would think that the durability of the cruiser ship might be higher than the durability of just like a normal ship that was destroyed by Daikokuzan. So like being able to do this is like very impressive. And you gotta understand that, like, because of this guy, they started saying, okay, so there are a bunch of demon lords like these. Like, because of these guys, they started like re-evaluating their threat assessments. There's one hero who defeated one demon lord he assigned to on that one base of humans on latest chapters. Yes, we're talking about Berserk. I thought the first time we'd see Ginbak using drumming mode would be in a fight against the Demon King. Exactly what I thought too, by the way. I feel like the way they showed the drumming mode was disappointing. Ginbak's drumming mode. It didn't have... It was like... It was not... The impact of showing something as crazy as that was not, was not significant. It felt like it's just another thing. It felt like a release, when a demon lord uses release. It's like, oh, you're getting stronger, but whatever, right? Like, didn't feel like something grandiose. That's a word, grandiose? I don't know. Okay, I don't know, man. This whole Berserk is untrustworthy. Seems weird to me. Not saying it's impossible, but one didn't reveal Blast's face for a long time, and he was a pretty chill dude. I'm somebody who still thinks that Blast is kind of shady, by the way. Like, it's because the whole thing with I don't know if you guys are aware. Blast is confirmed to have darkness powers, whereas with God's avatars they have light powers. So darkness is always, in most cases, is like a shady power. And I have a theory that Blast is actually being powered by another entity that is on the same level, if not higher, than the god they're trying to fight against. So, sure, maybe Blast is actually a good dude, and the One Punch Man manga finishes and he still is a good dude. But for now, I'm on the fence with him. I'm kind of like, I don't know if I can trust you or not. Because there's this one interaction or one moment where Blast first appeared and he saw Flashy Flash and Saitama was talking to them. There's a moment where like he looked at the monster. He was like, "What is this monster doing here?" Like he had like a bloodlusted look. Like he has it like it's personal to him. Uh, that a monster is like he shouldn't be here. And then Saitama was like, "Oh, this monster is like something around along the lines of like he's our friends or like we're using him for something." And then Blast was like, "Oh, okay, if that's the case." That whole that whole like that moment is kind of weird. So yeah, maybe Bozek is just like Blast. And going back to what you're saying, the whole point of Bozek is untrustworthy seems weird to me. I don't think it's weird. Maybe it's something you don't believe in, but based on how he's being drawn, the shades, why is he the only character who defeated the Demon Lord successfully? What's his purpose? He's an ambiguous character. Nudo is interested in him. Maybe he's not a bad guy, but there's something about him. It's safe to say that. It's not just the phase, they also left the people at Spiral Mountain with cursed technology without even informing them to the consequences. There's also that, by the way. Where boss is, when it comes to the humans, to be honest, when it, like the character that's the smartest character, I wouldn't say the smartest character, but like the character that I would trust the most would be Boss. Boss is an MVP. He's a character that is dependable, very knowledgeable. The way he was talking about how they left the Spiral Mountain alludes to the idea that these guys are not trustworthy. Not Gigatilla, by the way. Maybe not all of them, but the leader it maybe is not as trustworthy as he seems. What are Daikokuzan's motives? Is he evil against humans, or do he not care what makes him move from place A to B? Is he just strolling around randomly, and what does he eat? I'm so curious. It depends on your definition of evil, okay? Are we evil when we kill cockroaches? You get what I mean? The way they were talking about natural enemies from the start, it's like a natural thing. It's like an animalistic instinct where if you go to a forest, for example, the Amazon forest or whatever, Africa's forest, and you meet a lion, if a lion eats you, it doesn't mean he's evil. It means that's his natural thing to do. So with Daikokuzan, maybe it's the case. With the Demon Lords, it is the case. The way they see the humans, they just think they are ants. Okay? So it depends on your definition of evil. Natural enemies does like most of the natural enemies does not mean they are evil. Definitely the case with the lawless. If we're talking about the lawless, they're evil. Definitely the case with the neo-humans. But some of them are just acting based on their instincts. For example, the Titans, sure, they're not. They're what's the word? They do not have mercy. They kill in very gruesome ways. But that's how they're built. Okay, that's how they are. It's like they're like animals. It looks evil to us, but when you start thinking about it from a what is it, a bigger lens, you start to understand that maybe not all natural enemies are evil. It's just what they're supposed to do. All right, let's continue. Parasites will definitely get some kind of massive upscale later since they can inflict any top tier. Yeah, sure, I can see that too. Yeah, but doesn't he have a guy from that world in his team? Seems more like that guy's or girl's fault. we need to see a flashback from one of the top humans eventually. Obviously, as I said, most of the things we say on stream or we say about verses are speculations and assumptions. Okay, like this is we only have 36 chapters. It's not like we have 100 chapters and we're just like talking about like different angles and why this guy's doing this and why this guy's doing that. We don't have a lot of evidence. Maybe they're trustworthy. Maybe they are actually the most heroic team in verses. We're just going from going like we're saying they're not trustworthy based on the way they're being drawn, and maybe boss doesn't have the full scope of what that girl is trying to do with the spiral village. Maybe she's much more proficient in using cursed tools. There are obviously different ways you can interpret this, but for now it's fine for us to say, okay, maybe they're not trustworthy. Okay, we're not concluding that we're not saying this is, you know, straight up this like the end all be all. We're not saying this is fact, but it's fine to think that way. All right, yeah, but doesn't seem all right, man. I really want the next chapter. Versus is genuinely a good example of how to make a multiverse plot, or just a story with other words, not cringe and actually interesting. Look, bro, and I'm not overselling this. It's been years, bro. It's been, I don't know, like 8 to 9 years since I actually became a manga reader. I actually read manga all the time. I'm more of a manga reader than an anime watch. I don't watch anime that much. I've read multiple stories. Whatever is good, whatever you name it, I probably would have read it. Okay. Versus is one of the best I've ever read. It's really balanced. The author knows how to hook you each chapter. Each chapter is meaningful, has a lot of info. There's no chapter that is just, you know, that doesn't deliver. And the way it's, as you said, the way it's handling many characters from many worlds with different power systems and different cultures and different it's like the overall different everything, right? Like literally other planes of existences. The way they're handling, you know, all of these characters is insane. Okay. Usually when a manga that has a lot of characters and a lot of words and a lot of plots and whatever, it gets boring because it seems too overwhelming. But with verses, it's not the case. With verses, it's always interesting. There's always an interesting thing to talk about or to think about. I'm telling you guys, this is a manga that is heavily underrated, and it's literally the best manga that is getting released right now. There's nothing that I'm reading that comes close to the peakness. Is that a word? Whatever. You get what I mean. The peakness of verses. It's just that good of a manga. And I'm happy that like I'm somebody who's trying to grow the community, trying to spread the verses. Made a lot of people actually read it. Encouraged other content creators to start making videos about verses, start talking about it, start just sharing it with the world. And I'm happy that the community is growing larger and larger every day. All right, let's continue. I hope we see a point of view of Daikokuzan. I know he's more like an animal, but still, it would be curious how does he interpret it. How does he interpret all the events? Maybe he's not an animal. Maybe he's a character that can't think, because there's this one instant where he seen Hallow and Pakia running, and then he switched his position to actually chase them. Maybe, an animal can do that, but maybe that's signifying that he is actually intelligent. Maybe. Tenkaichi is ending in 5 years. Maybe Versus speeds up after that. 5 years is still much. Berserk has to be significant in major way. Remember, all these people are from different worlds and they picked him as the leader. Giga refers to him as boss. Yes, Zu also says that he's never seen a hero that can perform that crazy of a magic ability. The portal looks like it's as massive as the one Nudo and Nyagoro uses. So maybe he is the only hero that is actually as strong or can contend with demon lords. That's why what's his name? Nudo is interested in him. He's like, I didn't know that like heroes or humans can reach this potential. But as you said, maybe there's more to him. Maybe he's like the product or like a child of a demon and a human. You can never know. Versus is literally one of the best feats of writing I've seen. Exactly. I think the author, one, is using his knowledge and his experience on making One Punch Man, Mob Psycho, and um, different other stories uh, to strengthen verse. It's like versus is the best of all of them when it comes to writing because of past experiences. Tugan Bada Money, hi, welcome to the stream, bro. I've read classic manga, but when I discovered this is just a wide perspective, and you are excited on what's out there, and with the survival mode of is exciting. Exactly. It's like the first time, to be honest, the first time I read this chapter, I was not hooked on it. Not the chapter, versus chapter one. From the start, I was not really hooked on it. I was like, this is just another One Punch Man trying to be manga, right? With the heroes and the king telling them to go. Felt like maybe this is just gonna be a One Punch Man, but like in what's the word? How do you guys say it? Mediterranean era? Is that a word? But then after I've seen the merge word and another other humans from other another universe asking them for help, and then I was hooked. I was like, okay, so this is gonna involve two universes. This is actually insane. And then the next chapter, it's not just two universes, it's 13 universes. Like, yo, what's going on, bro? Like, this is insane. And each universe, like, there wasn't a single universe that was like, okay, nah, this is not interesting. Every single universe is very, very interesting. The medallions, bro, the first time we've seen the aliens, I was like, yo, this design is insane. This is actually pretty cool. And the way they just like spawned out of nowhere from space that fast in relativistic speeds, boom, they're there. It's look, I can talk all day about what makes Versus great and what makes it my favorite manga right now. But nothing I can say would give it justice. It's that crazy of a manga. And it definitely needs a good first season adaptation for it to not, for people to actually witness this masterpiece, to start, like for the community to grow much larger. um okay, maybe we're gonna conclude the stream in like 5 minutes, so I'll be reading the last chats and answering them or talking about them, and then we conclude the stream because I'm very tired. Yesterday I actually slept 4 hours, bro. 4 hours. Versus is the best manga, hands down. Everything else can't compare. Versus is miles away from everything else. Exactly. The story actually makes sense. Everything connects to it, connects pretty well. The power scaling is one of the best. Nothing contradicts anything. Okay? So far, 36 chapters. The power scaling is top tier, bro. Top tier. Everything makes sense. Ginbak can be affected by Haxus, even if not a lot. Nyagoro was one of the strongest offensive magic casters. Nyagoro simply had the best tools to damage him. Physical attacks don't work, as we had plus seems with the Ganaza, Jachi, and the Vanguards. Magic works on him, but as Nyagoro said, he can adapt to what's used on him. Yes, if there is a magic that can kill him from the start, Ginbak is not going to adapt to it, he's just going to die. When I was reading the chapter, I said this is literally Mahoraga. If you have an attack that is strong enough to destroy Mahoraga before he adapts, he dies, right? The same case with Ginbak, with hacks. If you have, like, if the hacks was not potent enough to kill him from the start, it's not going to work again. So, like, Mahoraga 2.0. Magic works on him, but okay, we've read that. I think of the foreshadowing that the parasites could use Rinri as base, like they did with Goth. Who's that? Becoming the super worm. Oh yeah, yeah, I do remember that guy. Do you think a parasite combo with Rinri as a base could adapt to Yaotsu? No, no. Survive, yes. Adapt, no. Again, I feel like to survive Yaotsu, you'd need to have a different natural enemy. I don't think the humans will be able to. But the parasites are a natural enemy too. So what the hell am I talking about? But I don't think that's enough to survive somebody like Yaotsu. First chapter, I thought it was like another fantasy story, like Freyrin with the hero um, Hamel type of shit. But oh my god, when those future humans came, I knew this will be the bomb. Exactly, that was my reaction to it. I was like, yo, this is insane. And I was hooked from that point on. Like, to be honest, I was not following it each month a chapter drops. I've read chapter 1, chapter 2, and 3. I think even 4 when it was dropping. But then I literally stopped it until chapter 11. When chapter 11 dropped, I started, I binge read from 5 to 11, and I've been part of the community ever since. Um, so yeah, crazy good story. We finished with the chat, so I think this is the time we conclude with the stream. Thank you so much for everyone who's been here, who's been interacting with us, who's been listening, who's been supporting. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for me to start making more uh, edited videos, more than just like doing live streams. It helps to push the algorithm much more, and it helps me to further share versus to a lot of people that doesn't know about it. Thank you so much again for being here. Make sure to take care of yourself, and until next time, see ya.